Another week of LCK action has passed us by, and we are starting to get a good idea of what the LCK hierarchy looks like. KT proved they are a top team, beating DK and T1 with ease. Hanwha Life Esports got themselves into the top 4, and DRX finally got a win on the board. In this series, we hand out weekly awards based on the players' individual performances rather than how they work together as a team. And we will start off with the MVP of the week, as well as second and third place. This week's third best player was KT's AD carry Aiming, who hasn't been talked about too much thanks to the rest of KT playing fantastically and the LCK having so many good AD carries. But this week, Aiming truly stood out, especially in the series vs T1, where he took over in teamfights and led his team to victory.
And Aiming is going insane though, they have not locked down this Zeri at all, as they take away the front line of KT, but they do not deal with the Zeri, as Aiming is going into the Lambs for spite and will burst them down alongside a BDD.
Second place was another AD carry, Hanwha Life Esports Viper, who also got second place last week. The team fighting monster is just too good, being able to avoid any CC while dealing maximum damage to the enemy in teamfights.
Viper is a walking freight train, just raining these axes on top of closer. Kyle, just Viper casually walks aside from that hook.
But once again, the MVP of the week is Kiin, as he went even in lane with horrible matchups versus the spring first team top laner Zeus, and then took over the teamfights, winning the game with his huge Malphite ultimates.
That is a massive Malphite ultimate. Guma is so low, but he's staying alive, but he does go down to the Viego right at the last second, as BDD behind enemy lines is just kiting it out. He takes Owner and Keria out of the fight, and the front line of T1 is toast.
The rookie of the week, excluding Peyz, this week was Kwangdong's mid laner Bulldog. He was the best performing player on his team in the series vs T1, holding his own vs Faker, and then absolutely dumpstered Quad and Fiesta as Kwangdong beat Nongshim.
Kills the exhaust, gonna be used onto Quad. Youngjae wanted to lock him down, but this time he's able to get out. Meanwhile, Peter not gonna be so lucky, and the two-man Emperor's Divide is too good. Kwangdong freaks are gonna answer back. Dindin still alive for the moment, but gonna be electrocuted by the Zeri.
A player who's gone under the radar thanks to his team's struggles and how many good AD carries there are in the LCK is Hena. Brion's AD carry has lifted his game after a very up and down start to the split, outdueling Teddy in their loss to Live sandbox and putting in a valiant performance versus Hanwha Life Esports and Viper. Brion are just a team that is too inconsistent. Hena and Effort had a good week, but Morgan and Umpty had some great games and some really poor ones. If this team could always be playing at their best and could find a decent mid laner, Brion would be a very dangerous side to verse. My disappointment of the week might be a very controversial one, as because my expectations for this player are so high, I can't help but being disappointed. Keria was T1's worst performing player this week, and even this whole split, I would only have him as their 4th best player. He still right now is the 2nd best support in the LCK behind Lehends, but for a player who's supposed to be the best player on his team and one of the best players in the world, he is just making far too many mistakes in teamfights for my liking. All of T1 have a lot to improve individually and as a team, to return to being leading contenders in the LCK and Worlds. But right now I really want to see Keria bounce back as the split continues. Now, for the teams of the week. The third team has a couple surprising names on it, with one of them being the often criticised Hanwha Life support Life. Life definitely deserves some of the criticism he receives, but this week he was in great form, setting up Viper well with his Renata and taking over the games on Blitzcrank. In the second team we have Genji's jungler Peanut, who after taking care of business versus DRX, absolutely dominated Canyon and Damwon in games 1 and 3, as he helped Genji continue their perfect start to summer. Finally, for the team of the week, we have 3 KT members repeating their performances from last week, but alongside Viper, we have his Hanwha Life teammate Zeka in the mid lane. He was just fantastic on the Annie and Zia vs Liv sandbox, and then showed us why he is so feared on mid laners, bringing out the Yone vs Brion as he ruined Ivory's day. A third of summer is already over, and some teams like Genji, KT and Kwangdong have got off to a great start, while other teams like T1, DK and Liv Sandbox will be feeling disappointed right now. While the bottom 3 teams are going to be relying on a miracle to make playoffs, the top 7 teams are going to be in a fierce battle for the 6 spots in playoffs and the 4 spots for Worlds. Some teams will finish summer achieving their goals and feeling excited for the future, while other teams will have to deal with the bitter taste of reality setting in. 6 weeks remain in the summer split, and we will be eagerly watching to see how it will play out.